ladies, it's Leanne Lisbon from Mind Over Muffin. We are on part 3 of the 3-part mini-series called The Truth About Binge Eating. So for those of you who have been following along, welcome to part 3. If you are new here, go back, watch part 1, watch part 2, and then come back and watch this part. As they all kind of follow on, so you want to kind of get all the info, make sure you are up to scratch. So today we are delving into another area that, in my opinion, is so important to be working on and to master if you want to truly heal your relationship with food and your body. So when it comes to binge eating, emotional eating, boredom eating, stress eating, whatever type of eating you want to call it, to me it's all essentially the same thing. You know, we are eating when we don't really need to be eating. Like, food is there to fuel our body, to give us nutrients, give us energy. Anytime we're eating and we're not physically hungry, it's being driven by either an emotion, kind of an emotional trigger, by a like a neural pathway, habitual kind of autopilot response. And there's ways that we can start to kind of release those, we can start to take back that control, we can break those habits, we can rewire the mind, and we can start doing, we can start to really make a change on a core level. Now, in one of the previous videos, we spoke about how our mind is like an iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is the conscious part, the unconscious part is underneath the iceberg, the big foundational structure. Now we can start to make changes in the unconscious mind. That's when we can change the habits and the behaviors, and we're not going through life having to try and govern, our eating, but instead we can really just make a change on a level where things just happen naturally. And that's the aim. That's where I want each and every one of you to get to. Now, one of the big factors in healing your relationship with food, with losing weight, with healing your relationship with your body, is the emotional element. Now, at Mind Over Muffin, we know there are 3 core elements to healing your relationship with food and your body and losing weight and keeping it off. And that is the physical element, which is looking at what you put in your body, moving your body, the physical stuff, right? And then we have the emotional and also the spiritual element. So when we're talking about the emotional element, emotion is huge. I cannot emphasize how important emotional eating is when it comes to how important emotion is when it comes to emotional eating and to binge eating and boredom eating and stress eating and all the eating. So everyone thinks that when it comes to emotional eating, binge eating, it's the eating that needs to be looked at and fixed and resolved, which ultimately, yes, but that is the result of the driver behind it, which in emotional eating is the emotion. We need to look at the emotion. We need to look at the drivers. When it's binge eating, the same thing. We need to look at where is the binging born out of, and it will be underneath it an emotional driver. Or like we spoke about yesterday, that seed that's been planted, and it's like a habit, and it's just become ingrained in what you're doing. So today I want to talk to you guys about emotion, and the reason I feel so passionately about emotion is that for me it was the big thing that made the change. I had no idea that emotion was playing a role in my eating habits. I had no idea that emotion was a thing that was making my body stay in survival mode and hold on to weight. I didn't realize that, and I was just trying to diet, count my calories, restrict my calories, cut out fat, cut out this, cut out that, cut out everything to try and solve this problem, and I just couldn't solve it until I started to look at what was happening in here. I started to look at that emotional element, and things started to really change. So, a few things about emotion. As humans, we store emotion unconsciously in that big foundational part of the iceberg. And over time it builds up and up and up, and the best way I can explain this is, imagine you have a glass of water, and every event you've ever experienced emotion on, stress, overwhelm, anxiety, anger, fear, sadness, guilt, regret, shame, loneliness, any emotion, it's like one drop of water in that glass, and over the time, over years, it starts to get more and more full, right? A drop, 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 until this glass is full. until we reach the point where it is full to the brim, and any little drop extra into that glass is going to make the glass overflow. And that is the point that most people get to when there's so much emotion there that we're not taught how to release that or to deal with it. And so it starts to drive the need for us to search outside of ourselves and find a way of coping with that and release. But the problem is the ways that we reach for are not actually releasing the emotion on a core level. And so maybe we turn to food, that's why we're all here, right? Cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, Netflix, scrolling social media for hours, gambling, sex, shopping sprees, anything, can be anything. But for us, why we're here is we're talking about food, right? So we reach for food and we try to get a distraction from how we're feeling, or we try to squash down that emotion. We try and just get out of the feeling of it, but we don't realise consciously that this year's worth of build-up of emotion is stored in here. And so we don't relate that to the fact that we want to eat chocolate when we're stressed, because that stress, that drop of water in that glass is too much, it's making it overflow. And so we need that coping mechanism, but we don't relate how we're feeling currently to what we've been through in the past. Because we think, oh, that was 5 years ago that, you know, my so-and-so passed away, or that breakup, or I lost my job, or I had that financial struggle. We don't connect the dots, but remember, the unconscious mind doesn't have the concept of time. So it doesn't know that that thing you went through has been and gone. It just feels like you're still living in it. And so it's very easy for us to then reach for something to give us comfort, to make us feel better, to give us a distraction, to release the stress, to give us some time out, to give us something to focus on in that moment so we don't have to sit in that feeling. So when we're carrying emotion in the body, there's one of a few things. Number one, like I just said, makes you try and reach for something outside of yourself to cope, to deal with it. And this is where emotional eating comes in, right? We want to eat to feel better. Number two, this unconscious emotion essentially puts the body into a stress state. When you're in a stress state, your body is in survival mode. When you're in survival mode, your body shuts down the functions that it doesn't need anymore. It doesn't need to lose weight. It is not interested in losing weight. If anything, it is interested in holding on to weight. So it makes it very difficult to lose weight. Number three, any internal emotional weight you are carrying will weigh you down emotionally, but also physically. It is a weight on your body. If you are carrying physical weight, I can guarantee you are carrying internal emotional weight. It is just how it works. I see it time and time again. It is what happened for me. When I started to release the unconscious emotional weight I was carrying, the weight started to drop off, the emotional triggers for food disappeared, and everything started to come back into balance just like that. It was really cool. I didn't work any specifically on food or weight or anything, but by working on myself and releasing the emotion, things started to really shift, and it was amazing. And that was my light bulb moment for now doing what I do. I was like, people need to know this stuff. So it's really cool. So I want you to understand that emotion is playing a massive role right now in your eating habits, in your ability to lose weight, but also your ability to feel motivated, how you feel about yourself. Maybe you put yourself down a lot, and that can come from carrying a lot of emotion. But the most important thing is that we start to learn how to release this emotion, because when you keep carrying it, it's not, these behaviors and patterns are going to keep playing out. Now, when you're carrying a lot of emotion in the body, it takes energy for your unconscious mind to suppress that. And when you're suppressing it, it takes your energy, it makes you tired, it makes you crash, which makes you crave sugar. So hello, cravings. So stress and emotion are having an impact in so many ways, guys. It's crazy. When you start to release this, things will shift really quickly. Now, emotion is energy in motion, and energy should move. Emotion needs to move. Now, what happens when we're carrying emotion is it stagnates in the body. Energy can't flow around our body, and so we create blocks. And these blocks are heavy. It doesn't allow emotion and energy to flow, you know. So like our breath goes in and out, food goes in and out, water goes in and out, emotion should go in and out and move and flow. So we need to get your emotion and energy moving. So the best place to start is to, again, bring awareness to how you're actually feeling. So we need to acknowledge how you're feeling. Emotion is temporary, but when we don't acknowledge it, it becomes long lasting. When we hold on to something, you might have heard that example, you know, you hold anything, a glass for a few minutes, it's fine. You hold it for an hour, your arm starts to get tired. You hold it for a week, a month, a year, 10 years, it's going to cause some damage to the arm, right? It's going to be very, very hard and heavy. It's the same with emotion. We hold on to it, we're carrying it, it becomes heavy, it weighs us down. The first step, start acknowledging how you're feeling. When you're reaching for food, what am I trying to get here? What am I actually feeling? If I can let myself feel it and I can acknowledge it, I can just give into it, surrender to it for a moment. I can take out my journal, I can write about it, I can process it. You're going to start to process your emotions. When you allow that emotion to pass, you're not going to have the drive to quickly distract yourself with food or get a positive feeling from that food, right? You're going to actually allow it to start to shift. So this is my challenge for you for today. Put it into practice, let me know how you go. I hope that gives you an insight into the role that emotion is playing in your emotional eating habits, in your binge eating, in your weight loss journey. So start sitting with it, put it into practice, guys. Let me know how you get on. I would love to hear your thoughts, comments, questions. Email me, DM me, whatever platform you're on here. Reach out, let me know how you're going. I want to support you guys. That is the final part of our 3-part series. I do have something extra special for you guys tomorrow, so keep an eye out. It will be coming onto this platform, into your email, wherever you're watching. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you have taken away some awesome tips from the last few days that can help you start to transform your eating habits and your relationship with your body in a completely different way. So thank you for watching. Have an amazing day, and I'll speak to you soon.